everybody, I'm back this Thanksgiving week, with the requested pumpkin pie in a mug. Get yourself your typical oversized mug. And this is going to be really super simple. You can do your own personal pumpkin pie in a mug. It's just going to be easy, point being. So, you start out with your typical mixing bowl. Then you're going to get your dry ingredients, which will be your flour. And you're going to get, now this might sound a little goofy, but get yourself a tablespoon and a teaspoon of flour, which is basically a tablespoon and a smudge. But a tablespoon and a teaspoon of flour. And then a tablespoonful of sugar, because we all like it sweet. Okay, set those out of the way. Okay, and about 1/4 teaspoon, if I can find where I put it, of baking powder, because this is a pie. However miniature. 1/4 teaspoon of that. And if you hear an odd squeaking sound, I got my cat a new toy. It's a little cardinal, like just beep 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 every time he touches it. Needless to say, I put it up at night. And you're going to put what we would call a heaping dash, which is basically a couple dashes of pumpkin pie spice. And a couple dashes of cinnamon. I'll set those aside because we might want more of them after we get everything together. Okay, next you're going to go for your wet ingredients, which is pumpkin. Just pumpkin puree, not pumpkin pie filling. Because even though we were trying to make this easy for us, we don't want to make it too easy. Okay, take my thing apart by accident. You're going to put about 6 to 7 teaspoons of pumpkin puree. 3, 4, 5. I'm going to use 6 because they are kind of heaping. Okay, set that to the side. What do we got next? 1 egg. 1 egg. Oh, there it is. Couldn't remember to put my trash bucket for the egg. Anyway, 2 tablespoonfuls of milk. 1 and 2. Okay, I've got flour, sugar, pumpkin, spices, baking powder, egg, a splash of vanilla, which is just basically a little doot. I don't know if a doot is a measurement, but it is for me. And you're going to get your fork in there and get that all mixed together. Alright, to watch the sides of the bottom. Yeah, that's definitely, if you measure level tablespoonfuls of pumpkin, I'd say maybe put 7 in. But if you just went ahead and did like 6 sort of more rounded ones like I did, you would only go with 6. Because that makes it a nice sort of wet filling. Okay, I wouldn't recommend eating this because you have the raw egg in, but to taste it just a smidge to see if you have as much spices in as you want, you can go ahead. I'm going to put some more spices in mine because apparently my dashes weren't heaping enough. Like I said, everybody spices stuff to their own tastes. I guess because there's so much puree in, I just like a little bit more spice in mine. Watch, now I'll overspice it. But, you know, like I said, spicing stuff is to your taste, but I like to taste it in mine. Okay. And in the interest of time, I don't care what this tastes like, I'm putting it in. No, it tastes good. I'm just teasing you. Okay, so after you get that stirred up and it's spiced to your taste, with your pumpkin pie spice and your cinnamon, get your oversized mug, give it a light spray. Sorry, fresh can, I sprayed too much, but with your cooking spray so that it doesn't stick. Make sure that's all. Set your fork aside. Get your little keeper there. Plop it all in your mug. That's why we got that, so we can make sure we get it all in the mug. Scrape it good. Okay. Just a little couple taps to make sure everything's settled. Then we're going to put it in for a minute. This is one of those where we do it in minute increments just to make sure it's done. And you will probably have extra pumpkin. You can just put it in the fridge, and this one can is going to make about 2 of these. One thing you can do while you're waiting, if you notice I didn't put a crust on it, that is because we're going to work on the crust right now. Now you can use graham crackers or something, but I like to use these little cinnamon Teddy Grahams because they crush up really easy. Yeah, I'll check that in a minute. And I just pour some of them in a bowl. Okay, now we're going to look at it. As you can tell, it's starting to firm up around the edges, but you can still tell it's still runny in the middle. So we're going to pop it in for another minute. Here I have your traditional metal ice cream scoop. I just put my hand over this bowl so stuff doesn't flop out. Sorry, I'm just making sure my time, if I look like I'm staring at the camera, it's because I'm making sure my time's not running out. Room on the camera. What you're basically doing is just crushing these up, although I'm not doing a very good job. You know what? I'm not doing this right. This is how I should have done it. Ziploc bag. What you're going to use for your topping and any sort of hard object, from your cooking spray can to a rolling pin. Whatever will make these into the nice little crispies you're going to use for your crust. Bye-bye bears. They really are tasty little bears. Now, you have a nice bag. of what will go on top of your pie as a crust. Now where to put my fork? Okay. Starting to pull away from the edges just a bit. So I'm going to do it another minute. You're probably going to end up on yours about 3 minutes. But we do it in minute increments to check it. And, of course, after we have our crust, our cinnamon Teddy Graham crust ready, it's called Cool Whip. And if you want, a scoop of ice cream. I actually have pumpkin ice cream. Amazing stuff. Okay. And after 3 minutes, you'll be able to look and, oh, smells like pumpkin pie. You'll be able to see, and I can't really show it to you, or I'm gonna end up tipping it off the mug, out of the mug. You can have the top of your pie. It might look a little moist in the center, but let's face it, you're stir it up a little bit, and you can see it's a perfect pumpkin pie. It was pulling away from the edges slightly. Looked good. If you prefer yours a little more done, you can put it in for another minute. But this is just how I like mine. And you can pour. You don't have to use all the ones you mushed up. Just enough to give you a little bit of a crust. I'll use those on another one later. And a dash, well, let's face it, we'll just use the rest of the container, of Cool Whip, because pumpkin pie, like that, requires Cool Whip. Oh, Cool Whip, who can resist? And there you have, I wish I could show you better, but you have your pumpkin pie, you have your crust, and you have your Cool Whip. Now have your perfect bite of your very own personal pumpkin pie in a mug. Oh, good. Too hot as usual, but so I will see you guys next week. Sorry, if it looks like I'm leaning close, it's because I'm checking my time. So see you guys next week, where I'll think of something fall holiday to do, unless you give me any suggestions. So I hope this is what you wanted, because I think it's really good. I'll see you next week.